Title sequence. Background video of lots of illustrated faces joining the screen. Title text. Emerging Leaders Collaborative, March 2024.
Welcome everyone. This is the first Emerging Leaders Collaborative meeting of 2024, and we're delighted to be joined by Keymn and Rich, who are going to be sharing their experiences with the Voices for Improvement program. So let me hand over directly to them now to start their presentation. Questions are welcome through the chat or through putting your hand up. We're delighted to have them joining us today. So thank you so much. I'm sorry, I haven't started the proper way, which is just by acknowledging that many of us are joining from places and spaces that have experienced colonisation. I want to acknowledge the ongoing strength and resilience of Indigenous people and communities, their ongoing connection to land, sea, sky and story, and value the contributions that they bring to our spaces. And I also want to acknowledge that many of us work from our own lived experience for the improvement of services, and I want to honour the strength and resilience that everyone brings when they work from lived experience, and thank and appreciate those who bring that lived experience for the improvement of equity and fairness for everyone. So those acknowledgements properly done. Let me hand over again. Apologies.
Beautifully done, Ashleen. Thank you. Rich, would you like to go first, introduce yourself and a bit of your background?
Yeah, brilliant. Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Amos, and it's brilliant to be here alongside, I was going to say this morning, but it depends what time zone you're in. It's this morning for us in the United Kingdom. We're here to speak a little bit about our Voices for Improvement program, and just a little bit of information about me is I'm a lived experience partner, and I work around the West Midlands within our regional co-production advisory network, working to support local authorities, and you will hear the development of the Voices for Improvement program and how we're taking to the next step.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rich. Amazing. I think you're being a bit modest there about everything that you do, but we haven't got all day, have we, for you to say everything that you do, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name's Whervin. I've got lived experience of being a carer. So I cared for my mum for 23 years. I complained about my mum's care, and my mum was a nurse and she had a stroke when she was 55. So I cared for her for 23 years. She lost her voice and she couldn't walk on her right hand side. I had a lot of trouble being from the Black community and being Jamaican and living in an area that's not so diverse. And there was a lot of struggles in terms of your needs and understanding what my mom needed for her care, and that was social care and health care in the UK. I made a few complaints one day, and I had a phone call, and it said, actually, we've been looking at your complaints and you've got a lot of solutions in there. So will you come and work with us? So that was 10 years ago. I was just a carer, had a phone call. It was, you're not going to believe this. We want to pay you to come and work with us. And that's in a region in the West Midlands, which is central UK. And it was Solihull Council. And I said, okay, then I'll come and join you. And that's how I got into this, which has been really weird. Now I'm actually I've part of National Voices, which I'm going to tell you about our Voices for Improvement program and what we've developed. And I was actually in the advisory group. I then moved on to be an associate, and then moved to be a manager, and now I'm head of experience at National Voices. And that's the role that we really want people with protected characteristics, age, gender, disabilities, mental health, learning disabilities. It's a kind of role that I'm passionate about, and and our West Midlands group as well is where we want to support people to get to, because we've all got different skills, but if we work in partnership and as a team, we can support each other to actually have our voices heard, not just be in a room saying, yes, we want to be part of this, but actually being decision makers, because I think we're all capable of doing it when we get the right individual support for everybody. And I'll stop there and I will start my I was better share first, sorry.
As you'll hear our story, it's more about us wanting to work in collaboration with organisations, and we feel that this programme in particular is about us being equal partners to something that's going to be really valuable.
Brilliant, thank you, Rick. And can everybody see my screen? I can't see everybody, but thumbs up or give us a wave, or if you can't see it, maybe let us know.
I mean, coming through
Brilliant.
beautifully.
It's coming
Okay,
through loads,
fabulous.
yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So National Voices itself, we're a coalition of over 200 charities in the UK, and that's health and social care charities in England. We have over 200 members that we convene, which covers like a diverse range of conditions and from different communities, and it connects us to like millions and millions of people. Really, at National Voices, we know the benefits of co-production, and it's really about um, addressing those unequal kind of imbalances that people find when they're trying to get around the health and social care system. Um, the key benefits of co-production that we've found and identified as our principles is about that community empowerment. So that's about finding people in communities and understanding that that's where the assets lie, because the leaders and the government don't have all the answers and may not have experienced things the way that people from deprived areas of other, or other backgrounds experience. Also, we know that a holistic approach is really important. So we don't want to look at people with their conditions. For example, my mum was in a wheelchair and she couldn't talk. People used to talk to me as a carer, where my mum could fully understand what was going on. So it's looking at people more than their condition and as a person as a whole. And another benefit of co-production for National Voices is improved access. And that's about not putting more pressure on the system, but improving access for those people that, gypsy travellers, that can't sign up to GP practices, or people that are from ethnic minorities or speak different languages. How can we better make services for people that are kind of, where things are not formed so we can actually be involved and we can't access things. Okay, so at National Voices, what do? We really advocate for equitable and personalised care for people. We understand about advocating. So that's about advocating for people to have genuine partnerships and work with communities and voluntary sector organisations. It's also about understanding and finding a common cause. So we convene all of our members. So if we're doing something about cost of living, it's about convening the right members and the right charities to help us write letters to inform policy, because we don't want to just speak for people. We want people like the major charities actually involved in actually understanding where are the most priorities that we need to identify together. And the major thing that we do is connecting and convening all of the charities, all of the government leaders, NHS and social care leaders, and people with lived experience to come and work together. So what do we mean when we talk about lived experience? Lived experience is, here's an example on the screen, and I don't want to read it out if you can read, but it's about those people that are experiencing issues on whom a social or combination of issues has a direct impact. And you can see that from Baljeet Sandhu's book there. And I think you'll have the slides afterwards. And co-production for us is about working equally together. So it's not having one person at a board meeting representing everybody that's got physical disabilities or learning disabilities. It's about having an equal amount of people around the table. And also when to co-produce. What do we mean by that? We call strategic co-production, which is about leadership and understanding, shaping the overall services of health and care. But also there's different levels of co-production, which I'll go on to afterwards. But it's knowing when to actually do it in the right situation. I think sometimes engagement's good, but I think sometimes people badge engagement as the word co-production. Um, and co-production is when you're fully being involved with what's going to happen next. And if anybody wants to jump in and ask questions as we go, please do. Rich?
If I can just come in and say that we don't really take a blanket approach to production, as we recognise that it's about working with people's strengths and people's ability to what they want to bring, so that different levels of co-production allows somebody to participate in a way that works for them and matches to how they want to contribute to something, because not everybody, for example, wants to sit in at board meetings, but they do want to get very hands-on and work alongside people at a very grassroots level.
No, absolutely. And it's obviously, it says here as well, there's no obvious answer. It means it should be co-produced, and people in professionals not go ahead and just do it without getting the input from people. Okay, so here is our amazing rainbow of participation. So we've turned the ladder participation on its head, and we thought this is more, people find it more visible and easy to understand in the communities that we produce. So this has been produced by an organisation called People Hub, who are a community interest company, and they have turned the ladder upside down, and they've wanted to engage with communities so they can better understand what we mean by co-production. So on the left, you can see that it says inform, go to educate, consult, engage, co-design, and then on the right, you've got co-production. So if you look on the left, and for the sake of this session, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will just tell you what, the difference of the two and the doing with. So inform is about when people are just telling you what's happening. You haven't got a say, you're not going to feedback, but they're telling you this is what's happening in health and social care, and this is what's going to be done. And then if you look on the right with co-production, that's about people in communities, individuals, leaders coming together on a program and saying, what's our biggest priorities? Let's mark them out together and let's work on them together to achieve the outcomes that we want to achieve for people. So again, if you look on the left, it's doing to people if you're informing, and to the right, it's actually doing with people. So this is our relative input. So over time, People Hub, who some of their lived experience members work with us nationally as well, and our coaches and mentors, all of this information actually helps them when they are coaching leaders, for leaders to understand our approach to co-production. So if you're thinking, what's this got to do with the coaching? This is all the knowledge, experience and research that we've done as lived experience partners to inform our coaching and how we deliver that. So when we talk to system leaders, we explain to them when you're looking at inform, which was at the beginning of the rainbow, the input is just from the system. It's not from people. And if you see over in the UK, sometimes health and social care has not been good at doing that, and that's why the lived experience communities are growing nationally and locally, because people are more wanting a voice and can see how they can get involved and actually have careers in actually and having a purpose in life, and not just thinking, well, I've got something wrong with me, I can't be involved. Actually, you have a wealth of experience that's needed in the system. So you can see at the bottom there when it says people, there's no input from anybody when you're informing. And as we move along the spectrum, when you're looking at co-production, that's when somebody is fully involved in everything that's happening with a program, and it's an equal amount from both people and from an organization. Is there any questions there or reflections?
No questions, but I really love this this diagram. I hadn't seen it represented this way before, and I can see how it's really helpful for people to kind of get the differences in the spectrum of participation. So love that you've shared this resource. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so this is the how we do co-production, and this also relates to the coaching as well, because this is how we teach leaders to actually embed it regionally and nationally. So the first stage, so I don't know whether some of you have heard of Simon Stevens. He used to be the CEO of NHS England. And Simon came along and he said, I'm going to do this program called Integrated Personal Commissioning. And everybody was like, whoa, what is that? That's just a word. And everyone was like, well, what kind of word is that? That doesn't roll off the tongue. So he brought together national policymakers and people with lived experience over a period of 2 years. We built this program called Integrated Personal Commissioning, which today in the UK is known as person-centered care or personalized care. And this was done with people with lived experience and policymakers. So the first phase is about commitment and leadership. So that's actually when you're asking people to be involved, have the right environment for them to come, and make it be some go to them and don't expect people to come to you. So in England, they have a phrase called hard to reach. There's no such thing as hard to reach. You go to people, don't wait for them to come to you. There's also something about paying people for their expertise and their time. So ring fence an amount of money, whether it's local or nationally. If you're doing a program, make sure that people are getting paid for their time. Um, and also resource staff to actually spend time to support and develop people so for example, if there's learning disabilities, you need easy reads for a lot of your documents and things. So have somebody assigned that can support you and do that. So that's what's needed from the very beginning. And we talk about an agreement. So when we come together in a board, if say it's a board or a group, a national group, we ask them to write an agreement and say how we're going to work together, how we're not going to work together, what's on the cards and what's off the cards, so everybody understands right from the beginning what we're there for. The second phase is about contact and connect. Now, when we're talking about strategic level, we're talking about contact and connect the right people. So if you are on the spectrum, if you're doing engagement, and we're not saying that all of those other things are wrong and you just want co-production, there's different times for different parts of the spectrum. But when you contact and connect the right people that understand that you can support to actually be involved. Number 3 is about agree a common purpose. So that was about the agreement that I said, what's on the cards and what's not on the cards. Phase 4 is about taking the time to build people's knowledge, skills, and confidence. So that's inviting people to meetings just to listen in, send them on training courses to help them understand the health and social care kind of world. Because I remember when I first started, I was thrown into it and I didn't understand the language at all, and the acronyms that they use, and it felt very different. So there's something about bringing people in, working alongside them. Phase 5 is about is where you just go and you just do it. So often people don't do it because they don't know how to, but co-production is about solving it together and everybody bringing solutions to the table so you can just go on and do it. And I think the benefits of this is often professionals will go off and write a policy, and every year they're updating it. If they write it with people in the community and people with lived experience, you could write it and you don't have to keep on correcting it every year. You can save time. And this is how they start to develop relationships with leaders, with policy leaders. The more you work with them more closely on a program, those special relationships start to deliver and start to come about. And then you have a pool of people with lived experience that every time you have something, you can go to them people, which is efficient and effective. Instead of having to recruit a group of people all the time, have a sustainable group that can grow over time and people develop into leaders. The sixth phase, which lots of people miss out, is about reviewing what you've done. what's gone well and what's not gone well. Sometimes program can be rushed and people will say, oh, we were rushing, so we didn't involve you in that. Actually, you don't know my skills or my feedback to that work. So I would really like to be involved in that and also have people with lived experience reviewing the process. And then the final and most important part of this is have it facilitated. And what's worked well in National Voices is we've facilitated our sessions with somebody with lived experience, and what we call the professionals is learned experience. And the power of having two people supporting each other, running a program like that has been absolutely phenomenal for us. It's really gave us lots of opportunities to be involved in things. When you see people from different backgrounds and leading, especially people that are from protected characteristics, they're leading alongside, and we challenge each other as well in a polite way in front of people. And people like to see that actually you can speak up and you can have the confidence to say, oh, that might not be right there because that's not what's happening here. So I hope that's all making sense. And as I said, it's really important this is a facilitated process. Otherwise, people will just go off in different directions. It's about keeping that group together. Any
If I
questions?
can just come in if there's no questions.
Yeah.
Um, it's just to really echo that it's about meeting where people are at in terms of what stage they're at and being able to build upon the skills and knowledge that people have at any one point in time and being able to show them in terms of the confidence that there are possibilities. And in terms of the review, there's no reason why co-production shouldn't be embedded in everything that an organization does. It's about taking the time, and if there's real purpose, then everything else should fall into place. But when we think about strategic co-production, it's about making sure that it's got longevity and that there's systems in place for it to continue, and it's just not going to happen in isolation.
Thanks, Rich. I'm just going to go back to the rainbow. And I was wondering if any callers, any participants wanted to give an example of when they've had a time when they've been on the informing end or when they've been on the time of a co-production end and the difference that's been. Anybody want to volunteer and share that? Don't be shy, we're a small group, so no.
I'm happy to jump in. I mean,
Okay.
one of the things that I do for my work is about evaluating programs. So we'll often come in at the towards the end of a process and be asked to did we do what we said we would do? And I think one of the things I use the spectrum for is to try and help people understand what's going to be different if we just go to a few different people, we just do kind of a survey, we have a really limited kind of engagement, kind of down on this educate maybe end of the spectrum of, well, we're doing this evaluation, so you answer our question. Or what is different if we come in with a very collaborative, cooperative process and involve people in the co-design or the co-produce style of evaluation, where we sit particularly with beneficiaries of a service and say, we want to know if this worked, and we need to know what are the right questions to ask. So what are the right questions from your perspective? Sit with staff and go, what are the right questions from your perspective? Sit with the funder, and you synthesize that information and you start to build a really participatory approach that gives people a much better understanding of what worked about this program and what didn't. And you find almost always little things that the program did and positive changes that a program made that you would never know because they weren't in scope, and they wouldn't have been captured and they would have been lost if you had just asked, well, these are our questions and we're going to tell you what we're going to ask. So that would be,
Exactly.
yeah, that's where I see it in action a lot.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for sharing, Ashley. Okay, I'll just move on. Okay, then. So now, yeah. So Voices for Improvement at last we've come here. So what is Voices for Improvement? So in 2020, during the pandemic, and this is a special program for me because this is when my mum sadly passed away when I started the program. And this was the start of the COVID happened. In the December 2019, a group of us got together, 6 people from across the UK with lived experience joined National Voices. And we said, what is something that we can do that's different that can really make an impact? Because there's a lot of co-production groups, and we don't want to just be a talking shop. We want to see action. So one of the things was, well, why don't we coach senior leaders and have them put the money where their mouth is, as to say. So coaching came about and we looked into it and we thought also we need something that's sustainable to make organisations going because they're charities and charities struggle. So we also needed an income, but we also wanted people with lived experience to be implemented into National Voices to really help shape the policy. So we put the program together, and I'll just take you through the steps of how it works. So first of all, people will come along and they'll have an expression of interest, and they'll say, we want to work on this program. So they might be given some money from, say, NHS England funding, and they might want some of their leaders that are going to lead that. So we've got a program called Core 20+5, and that's all about people from disadvantaged backgrounds with the common kind of causes like cancer, and they're not supported at an early age of diagnostics. So it's like, what can we do to make leaders really think about what needs to be in place for prevention and to support these communities? So the way we go about is we have an expression of interest, we send that out. Then those leaders, we send them out to the leaders. The leaders then send them out, and we've got these forms that we've actually developed. We actually screen them to see, are these the right people to bring in the right space for to have a one-to-one conversation with somebody with lived experience? Are they actually going to share power, and they're actually going to share learning? So we screen them. Once we screen them, we have a chat with them to just say, you know, what are your intentions of doing this? Why do you want to do this? And what do you want to get out of that? Once we are happy that they can come onto our program, we then match them with a lived experience partner. Now, at the moment, we've coached 12 lived experience partners, and we've done 100 over 2 years. We've done 117 hours of coaching to system leaders, and we've coached, I think it's about 17 leaders so far that we've finalised with, and we're still coaching them. We've coached leaders from pharma companies, from NHS England, and from social care as well. We then go on to have an introductory session. So we call that really a chemistry session, but some people don't like the word chemistry session. And that's when we introduce the lived experience partner to the lived experience, the lived experience partner to the leader. They've never met before. They just come together and they get each other's profiles, because we make up a profile and say, here's your introductions, get in contact with each other. But we make the leader actually put all the dates in that they need to meet with the lived experience partner, but we let the lived experience partner be in control. So we're changing the power dynamics by letting the lived experience partner be in control of when they want to meet, and that leader then have to go along with them. Then you have coaching sessions. So the coaching sessions last for an hour. And what we've got is some people will buy 3 sessions and they'll say it's not long enough, so they'll go on and buy more sessions. Or some will just buy 5 sessions and that might be enough. And we charge them for those sessions, and our lived experience partners get paid for mentoring and coaching the leaders. We then go on to do a group reflection session and evaluation. Sometimes it's so hard to get people to, if it's a program of people and there's been 5 leaders, it's so hard to get them together, but we try and make them commit. If they don't, we've got an evaluation form that they fill out. But before we do all of this, the first thing we do with our lived experience partners is they come to us and we give them training on coaching. So one of our learned, Rachel Matthews, who built this program with myself and 5 other lived experience partners, we train the lived experience partners for over 2 days, and it's not an accredited program. It's a program where we believe it's called the coactive coaching approach, and you can look that up. And we've took a bit of what they've done and been really amazed at, they look at people at the whole as a whole person. And we thought, well, you don't have to be accredited. Some people have already got mentoring and coaching skills. So that's where how we kind of put those together. Um, and what actually happened, and Rich will go on to explain his experience afterwards. So what's happened in National Voices? Well, first of all, National Voices didn't have a lived experience community. That's myself and my mum that you can see with Rachel there. So Rachel's never worked so closely with somebody with lived experience as well. So we came in and we were really blown away by how people were seeing somebody from lived experience from the Black community working so closely with somebody that's from the white community, middle class, and a leader, and we've managed to build this program together. And people were really just wanting to speak to say, how have you done this? You've got a really diverse group that you've built a program with. So we have like clinics where people come in and talk to us together. It has to be together, and we share that power and that co-leadership where we advise people on how to embed co-production. Lived experience now has really changed National Voices. It's really now known for its lived experience, not for its policy work. And so a lot of people from research really want to work with us to say, how can we better work with people? We've diversified our trustee board. So before, our trustee board was really mainly white people. There was no Black people on there, no Asian or anybody from diverse communities. It's now very diverse, and now the team is diverse as well. And that's when we went on and we really started to get people involved with lived experience in co-designing the coaching and mentoring program. So although we designed it, we needed people to be our critics, to say what's not right about this, what's not wrong. So we recruited 6 lived experience partners to be external evaluators to evaluate our program so it could be better. And we continue to review constantly the program every time we deliver it. What have we learned by doing this? We've learned so much. Be flexible. Anything can happen, and people need to be supported individually at different times. What's the top tips for this? I'd say put time aside and resources aside to actually do this stuff. And what else is different? I think that the way we make leaders accountable. So when we do the coaching session, it lasts for an hour. That leader has to go away from that coaching session with an action of what are they going to do for people with lived experience. And we make them accountable by saying, how do I know you're going to do that? So they might say, oh, I'm going to have a group. So we say, how do we know that you're going to do that? And they will say, well, I'm going to put somebody in and lead that with somebody with lived experience. So an example might be, if somebody said that to me, I would say, right then, when are you going to do it? Get in your calendar, put that in, and I'm going to contact you on that date to see if you've actually done it. And then you email them to say, did you actually do that? And it sounds very minor. It really makes them accountable to actually doing it. And it's working very well so far, because they feel quite embarrassed if they haven't done something that they said they're going to do, and they said they're going to do it. So that's been a major thing, is making people accountable. And also, been a safe space for those leaders, because sometimes they go in a room with people with lived experience, and it can be uncomfortable because people are angry because I lost my mom, and I hear from Rich and some of the groups that people lose people from having really bad decisions being made about their health and things in health settings. And there's something about really having that decision-making process where they can come in, feel comfortable in that one-to-one space where you're coaching them, and they can ask you really questions that they wouldn't ask in front of everybody else. So that's really a benefit to them. What we've also found out is most leaders don't have the time to review and reflect. They're just constantly on a hamster wheel, doing one thing, coming out. And we speak to a lot of commissioners and we coach commissioners as well. And there's like a 6-month commissioning cycle. They don't get to stop and review, is that service working well? Is it still needed? And what we've found is the commissioners say, this has been brilliant because I've not been able to stop and reflect. And really, I've just been commissioning the same thing. So I think that's been a huge impact to how better we can spend money. What else have we learned? We've learned about building on people's existing experience, whether they're lived or learned experience. How does that work when you come together? We've also really learned a lot about how you have to talk about and commit to talking about tackling different difficult issues. So things that aren't going right and the impacts of the cost of living. We bring people with lived experience to coach leaders and to be part of our programs, because people tend to shy away from having those difficult conversations. For example, well, why haven't you got somebody with learning disabilities involved? Well, that would take too long. Actually, no, it's the right thing to do right now. And it's having those kind of conversations. In phase 2, what did we learn? Keep on building on reflection and reviewing what have we learned? How can we build on that? And how are we going to adapt next time? Invest in shared learning. So that's a big one, because like when you come together and you're both leaders, people think one person can do one role and the other person will do the one role. But no, you're doing it together to make sure that whatever you're producing at the end makes sense to everybody. And then phase 3, what did we learn? We sent out the coaching and mentoring. We've learned that people have built up their knowledge, their skills, and their confidence to be part of co-production groups. So I think across the UK, we've probably got a leading national co-production group, because we're very diverse. And we can do better, but I think we're getting there. So we do have people that you won't normally see on most national groups. It's quite balanced, and it's about addressing inequalities in order to improve outcomes. So we'll only work on programs where we know we can make a difference. And I feel like I'm talking a lot. Has anybody got anything they'd like to add or reflect on or relate to? No? Okay. So in the West Midlands, and this is a region within the UK which is central, what's happened? So this is the group that Richard and I are part of. I'm the co-chair of the group. Um, West Midlands put aside some resource and bought the programme from National Voices, and we've gone out and we've coached four of those directors, and 12 and that's took like 12 hours. We've got 4 lived experience partners that are now trained as regional coaches. And that's allowed us now to have the confidence to co-produce tools and audits. So we have the social work practice reviews. And before, they went and did all of this stuff without people with lived experience. But now they involve people with lived experience to develop the tools and things like that. So there's just an example of the kind of things we do. The hugest and biggest thing we've done is the co-production recipe, and I can send you a link to that. And that took us a couple of months to do. And it was led by somebody with learned experience, Abby, who's amazing. And she really came to the group and worked with us on an equal basis. And we have, I think there's 14 local authorities that sit within the West Midlands, and we're trying to get representatives from all of those regional organisations. But this is a guide that the group have done, and the group is made up of people, professionals and people with lived experience. And this guide is to support our associates, which mostly are former directors, and the 14 local authorities. And just over to Rich about what he's been involved to. Rich?
Yeah, thank you. I think the biggest thing we wanted to achieve from that co-production recipe is to bring an element of standardization to the approach of co-production. We do recognize that each organization has to take their own approach based on the communities they serve, but we wanted to bring some founding principles of how we believe co-production should be carried out, and that's really covered within the co-production recipe. And it was really exciting to be able to produce it and work on it. And we are, the West Midlands is a central part of the United Kingdom, and as said, we do support 14 local authorities. So we are on a journey to support and work with those authorities to make them more visible and active in terms of what co-production work they're doing. I'm fortunate enough to have been one of the people identified and to go through the coaching program. And for me, having that opportunity to eventually take forward the coaching and work with system leaders is really exciting. I've seen the success that we've had within the National Voices and within social care. It's a different type of relationship. By being with somebody with lived experience, and we've seen examples where leaders themselves don't ordinarily have that space, that thinking or reflective space outside of their day-to-day pressures. So when it comes to me to eventually be mentoring and coaching someone, I can't wait to offer that space for someone to really take ownership for themselves and identify any issues they may have in terms of their performance or anything that's happening in their personal life as well. Because I believe in terms of who we are as people, we can't separate ourselves between home life and professional life. We have to bring ourselves as a whole person, and hopefully it won't be too long before I will be coaching somebody. But as part of the program, what's really been insightful is I've received coaching myself. I've had 3 1-hour sessions, and I've been able to reflect on the process of how it feels and what it's like to be coached for somebody. And I will openly admit that it has opened my eyes in terms of having that dedicated space to speak about things that perhaps I wouldn't ordinarily be able to speak about. And it's enabled me to become a lot more self-aware um, of, of my own self, and how I want to behave as a person. The difference that the coaching will make to me, I believe, is a bit along the lines of emerging leaders in terms of the global leadership exchanges. I see myself on a personal journey of self-development, but I want to be taking myself to the next step to really push myself in terms of seeing what I'm capable of. Um, and we don't really know what we're capable of until we're put with situations and seeing how we respond to them. And I think in terms of the coaching, there's going to be a lot of excitement, but a lot of learning for myself. The West Midlands co-production network has been going since the summer of 2002. So we've had a lot of time to be able to work together as a region. And Ken mentioned the associates as well, and the team at West Midlands are really buying into what we offer as an advisory group, and it's only really strengthening day by day, week by week, isn't it, Ken?
No, absolutely. And we've managed to secure some regular resource now, so we can meet more regular as a planning group, as a strategic planning group that will take things forward with them. And we're going to be representatives on the board as well, aren't we? So thank you for that, Rich. And just to say the importance of you receiving the coaching as well and the difference that made to you. So at National Voices, we're very much about, we don't want to just take from people their expertise. We want people to go off better than what they came when they came to us. So if they're not interested in working with us, go away with a skill at least that they can use outside of this. And I think coaching is a major one. Just some examples of what we've had. So some leaders have actually said to us, this has been life changing. We've had some leaders change their roles and be what's the word? I'm lost my tongue today. So they've got better roles. We've had some just literally people do get emotional as well in the sessions, and you have to control that. And we do make people sign a confidentiality form. So anything that's said within the within that one-to-one coaching session doesn't go out of the room. So that's really, really important. It's about trust and building relationships and kind of putting that into practice. Actually, now have we got enough time for me to show something, or are we out of time? Do you want the time back for your
No, go
activities?
ahead. We'd love to
Yeah.
see the video. One question, if I can,
Yeah.
before we roll the video. There's a couple of things that have jumped out at me. So, if I was thinking about, oh, I love the idea of this program, but how would I make something similar happen in Australia or South Africa or Canada? So some of what you've talked about has been around actually that importance of the making sure you're investing in people and developing their capabilities. Rich just mentioned something else that I thought was really important, which is the team at West Midlands have had a lot of time to work together. And one of the other features you mentioned was actually screening some of the leaders who come in. So this was sort of three of the things that felt like an important, the important parts of if you were thinking about starting this. But I was wondering, is there anything else that, if I wanted to create this in my local area, what should I be really mindful of, or what's going to set us up for success, do you think?
Yeah, I think to be fair, I think to start off with, I would start with people that are kind of in the arena of co-production already and
Mm.
already understand what co-production is, and start with them first, because then they will mentor the next group that comes along. Um, the next thing I think only do it with people that come to you. Don't do it if it's a team and the manager's said that person's coming da da da. It doesn't work as well. It has to be a leader that really wants their work to be influenced with people with lived experience. Because when you come together, because I've done the one-to-one coaching as well, it the chemistry is not there, and sometimes people just don't want to be there. They've just been sent to do it. So it's people that are passionate about really making a change.
Thank you. That's a great insight. Rich, any additional thoughts from you as well?
Yeah. I think it's about building the trusting relationships. And we've spoken uh, at the beginning of the presentation about the strategic element of co-production, and that only exists if there is genuine buy-in, and that it's totally integrated and becomes part of the everyday behaviours of how an organisation acts. In terms of the coaching program itself, you will soon reap the reward for the investment in people with lived experience, but also the impact it will have on senior leaders themselves, because it is a unique opportunity compared to other coaching and mentoring that is offered. And we've seen some of the examples Keym just said about how senior leaders have actually arrived at the decision that they need to change their job or become emotional, and having that free space to actually think can't be underestimated, because that it's that part that is the success of the relationship for senior leaders to become self-reflective and evaluate their own position as leaders whilst developing people with lived experience themselves.
And I think, Rich, I think you're right there, because I think our leaders have gone away with courage to say things in the boardroom that they didn't know how to do. They've been able to practice it within the coaching time as well, which has built their confidence up. Okay, I'm just going to go into this. Like, I'm not good on Zoom. I'm normally a Teams person, so please bear with me if this just doesn't work. Can you hear that?
No, we might
No,
need to.
do
You
I need to
might,
share my sound or something?
yeah, you would need to stop sharing the presentation and share the screen with the YouTube video, or I can send the link out afterwards and I can integrate
Oh,
it
yeah.
into the video. Yeah,
Yeah, do you want to send it out afterwards and everyone can have a look at it afterwards? Is that okay?
perfect. Yeah,
Okay, I'll just turn it off. Sorry.
all good.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that was
Yeah.
the end. And then it was just our contacts at the end, which we can give to you, Ashley.
And Rich, thank you so much. What a brilliant deep dive into a really fantastic program. We really appreciate you taking the time to share in such detail your reflections and your experiences with it. And it's just such an exciting and positive initiative. And I'm glad that you're getting traction with it. And I hope we can help signal boost you as well. So thank you.